5-3 at the 8-game juncture. I'll be straight up. Didn't think they'd be 5-3. I would have signed a piece of paper saying 6-2 at worst. 7-1 maybe.
Yeah.
They're 5-3. Let's talk about the positives. They won a short week game. Not easy to do, even if you're home. They won a game in which Josh Allen came up with a throwing touchdown and a rushing touchdown. We talked about that about Dak Prescott. When you've got a quarterback who can run it, and then he can put it in the end zone himself with his legs and then with his arms, that is the difference maker in this league. If you have someone who can do that, you need him to do that. The problem is there's some conundrum in Western New York about him doing too much. And that sometimes seems to be an issue of, is he thinking too much out there? Which is why Ryan Fitzpatrick said, I'm going shirtless when we see the Mandalorian-type quarterback show up. The guy who imposes his will against you. That guy who we haven't seen in about a month. And the question is he banged up? He spent some time in a blue tent last night. I was freaking out for Bills Mafia at that point in time because he had just galloped easily into the end zone. Good old school Josh Allen running it in, sticking the ball out as he's crossing the goal line, teardropping it, which he probably would have done if it didn't get knocked out of his hands. You know? Like, look at the confidence on this guy's face as he's crossing the end zone, reaching the ball out across the goal line easily as he glides in with a shoulder that who knew at the time needed looking at in the blue tent. I couldn't believe, like, wait, why is Kyle Allen warming up?
Yeah, exactly.
So I understand the Bills came out with this win, and all is good in that hood. 5-3, way better than 4-4. Certainly when your next game is against the Cincinnati Bengals on a Sunday night in week number 9. Hey now. But for the moment, I'll say this, you know. They looked so good in weeks 2 through 4. They did. Weeks 2 through 4, bouncing back from that loss against the Jets on opening night. I'm like, that's the team. Rick Dalton GIF. There it is. That's the team. That's the Bills right there. That's the Bills right there. Obviously, you can't win every game, you know, by 28 points in the NFL, but you can impose your will and look dominant. And the good news is for the Bills, despite losing Trey White and Matt Milano and Daquan Jones, despite losing those players just off the top of my head, defensively, boy, they can get after it. And they got all over Baker Mayfield. If it wasn't for that tipped ball up in the air, how about that? Coming out of the blue tent, Josh Allen throws a ball, gets tipped up in the air, and it gets intercepted. The Bills' defense did its job last night. But still, it was a game. That's the issue. It was still a game. And the Bills, you know, it doesn't look pretty. I don't see any pictures on the standings. But maybe, just maybe, let's take this mini bye, Buffalo. Let's get Allen's shoulder, whatever is up, a little bit right. And I don't know. This is interesting. Play the soundbite from the coach first, if you don't mind. No, the soundbite from the coach, if you don't mind.
I'm always concerned about, anyone's injury, in particular Josh's. He's so tough, so competitive. It didn't surprise me when they said, hey, he's going back in. But from a protective standpoint, you're going to have to take his helmet from him, to keep him from going back out there. So
you mentioned Josh sliding. Mitch Morse laughed and said we should frame it and put it up there. Is that something you still have to say to him?
I'm done saying that. I'm done saying it. He knows. So he knows. So if he's going to run, he needs to slide. He knows that. So that conversation's been had over and over and over again. So short of hitting him over the head with a baseball bat and knocking him out, it's his job to slide. So
I guess that would defeat the purpose of the slide.
Good fun stuff. But Sean McDermott, maybe, just maybe, this is why on 4th and short they're throwing a ball instead of, brotherly shoving Josh Allen across the goal line because they don't want to put his shoulder at risk. Something's up with that shoulder. You know what I mean? Because
I think that's obvious.
I'll just, again, to me, the idea was to get the running game so he doesn't have to do everything in the red zone. That seems to be off. James Cook is getting his yards. Damian Harris is hurt. Latavius Murray is supposed to be pounding it in the end zone. At one point, he had to bounce it inside the 5-yard line. That didn't work. Dalton Kincaid was supposed to help. Now, that's a bright spot. That's a kid who I think could be very helpful in taking the Bills back to that weeks 2 through 4 when they were killing it and crushing it. And you saw him last night score his first touchdown. Dawson Knox is out for a month. You saw what he can do as a difference maker in the red zone. That's not too bad. But part of me does want to see Josh Allen he's 27 still. I want to see Josh Allen be Josh Allen. And it's kind of crazy I'm saying this when he threw for 300 yards and scored one on the ground and threw one in, but this game was too damn close for my liking. Because the Bucs have now lost 3 in a row. And, it just seems to be a mistake fest for the Bills when they just need to clean it up. Clean up the mistake fests. Get Josh Allen feeling more like that Mandalorian quarterback who is just gunning for your soul. And this team still can go places. But I come off of that Thursday night game saying that something that's missing from Buffalo is still missing. A little bit. And if I'm wrong, they'll wind up winning the game against Cincinnati, just unlike last year in the playoffs. They'll end up beating the Jets to avoid a season sweep. They'll end up going to Philadelphia and beating the defending champs in the NFC, and then coming off their bye feeling good and beating the actual defending champs in Kansas City. Tell Dallas, not in our house. And then go sweep the season series against Miami in the final week of the season and have a shot at the 1 seed. What do you think? Possible? Sure, it's possible. Probable? Yeah. Not based on what I saw last night. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I'm saying.
No,
that something's just off, and the something that's off is seeing Josh Allen imposing his will and cleaning up the mistakes, like ripping Baker Mayfield's face mask when you're taking him down to the ground. That essentially ended the game. And letting Tampa do what it was doing last night, which is taking the air out of their own football, running the clock out on themselves on a 17-play drive when you got to score fast. And a couple of penalties kept Baker Mayfield out on the field, and that opens you up to 2 things. One, a touchdown pass to Mike Evans that grazes off your defensive back's helmet. And then a Hail Mary. We could have been having a completely different opening segment today had Chris Godwin not turned around a split second sooner. It was the most Hail Mary perfect pass I have ever seen hit the ground without it touching a single hand. The last hand that touched the football last night on the Hail Mary was Baker Mayfield's. And the ball wasn't way short, and it wasn't sailed out of the back of the end zone. It landed like a dart, hitting the freaking bullseye. Shoot you straight. In my 20 years, the NFL Network's 20th anniversary is 2 Saturdays from now. I've never seen a Hail Mary pass thrown so perfectly, hit nobody in the hands. Ever. And that ball had Chris Godwin turned around, He could have fair caught it.
Yo, it's I'm watching it right now. It's
And
so perfect.
We would be talking
What a throw
about
by
a
Baker.
completely different outlook for the Buffalo Bills, which is my point. That game should have been in the freezer way beforehand. And that's my concern about the Bills, because they're now in the realm, it seems, of having to play a damn near perfect game to beat the teams they're going to have to beat to get to the promised line. And I need to see the weeks 2 through 4 Bills back. Now, of course, all the players that I said on defense that weren't there are not going to be walking through that door anymore. That's why I'm thinking maybe next Tuesday they get a little aggressive for some offensive help. A little aggressive. If Hopkins is out there available, if Derrick Henry's out there available, go bring them to Western New York and get a fresh set of legs and arms and a fresh set of air to breathe through there on their mini bye week. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.